Hello, this is Jackie B. Peterson. I'm your host today on Solo Pro Radio, and I'm the author of Better, Smarter, Richer, 7 Business Principles for Solopreneurship. It's my mission to help solo business owners, all of you, in one-person businesses, whether you're a creative or an encore entrepreneur, an artist or an attorney or a photographer, understand and apply the 7 solo principles to your enterprise so that you can find the financial success that you want. Hopefully you'll visit my website, www.bettersmarterricher.com. You can download the free ebook outlining the 7 principles, sign up for the free newsletter, and join our lively conversation on the blog. Also, of course, stay tuned, keep tuning in to this weekly radio show, which is posted to the website, www.soloproradio.com. I've just completed 2 wonderful events. October 28th, I talked at Pike Place Market, which was just terrific up in Seattle. And yesterday, I was in Astoria with the Small Business Development Center there and talking to a variety of small business owners. And I intend to be back in Astoria on December 4th for their artist meetup. It'll be a lot of fun, but check these things out if you'd like to join us. Today, our guest is Shelby Rice, and Shelby just has a great background. She has a degree in cultural anthropology, a focus on French and women's studies. She's owned a specialty paper store and has studied both NLP and CLEAN language. Now, she works with her clients to find their style. She's the creator of the Style from Within program, and she helps women realize their best style fully in alignment with who they are, their values, and the life they want to lead or to create. We're going to have a great discussion today. Welcome, Shelby.
Hello. I'm so glad to be here. Thank
I'm
you.
glad to have you here.
So.
Yeah, this is going to be kind of interesting. I don't know too much about helping people find their style. I know a lot about helping them find their business and make that successful. So I'm looking forward to learning from you today. But before we begin, you talked about this great background, so tell us more about that. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? And how early did you learn that working with style was your passion?
I actually grew up in Portland, in Southwest Portland. So I have lived in other places, but the bulk of my experience has been right here, and I love it in the Northwest. I went to school at the University of Oregon and then also participated in a Fulbright program for undergraduates at the College of Pohnpei in Micronesia. And I did a pilot project program there on women and body image. And
oh, wow.
That was, yeah, it was a long time ago, but I've been interested in style and fashion and body image pretty much since, I think I started really becoming aware of it when I was in middle school, which is sort of an obvious time because I think so often then women and young men too, but women especially start really noticing themselves more as they're developing and how they, relate to themselves, how they relate to their peers. There are so many influences about how they should see themselves, whether it's familial, cultural, societal. I found that to be really interesting and how it affected me. And over time, I learned a lot. And so then when I was in college, I was really, really fascinated by that, and especially about how media shapes how we think about ourselves.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
That's a whole other topic for a radio show, right? But after by the time I actually was in Micronesia, I had already lived in France for a while. And the French women are known for their beauty. And what is fascinating to me, and I still love this, is that they are taught from a very, very early age to really reflect their own individuality. And to tap into who they are. And so that has been very influential in how I see myself, what I try to work with my clients. And I guess...
that's so interesting. I want to pursue that for a second because it seems to me that we're all here in our culture, our American culture, we're all influenced to look like a model, an extreme model and a stereotype that everybody's trying to reach, not to be ourselves.
Right.
Wouldn't you say? I mean, does that,
yes.
is that
absolutely.
true?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And as we go through this show, I know that there will be some things where I can talk a little bit about how I approach that with my clients. That's a big one. Yeah.
I always tell people that what I see is such fear and how hard it is to overcome the fear. I said, just pick up any magazine and you will see that you can never be tall enough, short enough, fat enough, skinny enough, blonde enough, brunette enough, young enough, old enough, unless, of course, you buy my product.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so true. Yes.
Yeah, that's what always happens.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So this is very interesting background, and so you tried a couple other things in your career before moving to style, it sounds like. Is that right?
Yes, I did. One thing I'm realizing that I didn't mention a minute ago, but it kind of relates to this, is that when I was in high school, I loved clothing and I loved fashion, and my walls in my room were plastered with posters from W Magazine, and I loved helping my friends. I loved to shop, all those things, and I wanted to be a fashion designer. But for my family and some close friends of my family, they were just, Shelby, I'm sorry, but that's just, you really need to get a real degree. That's just not. Yeah, they really felt that it wasn't academic enough. And, now I totally understand, but at the time it was really hard for me, and I floundered for a little bit. Eventually I found, anthropology, which I absolutely loved, and I was able to apply some of the things that I wanted to, style. So it was sort of an evolution. But then I was traveling I'd always had a love of paper, and I was traveling in Italy on my honeymoon, actually, and for whatever reason, I think that God spoke to me and said, oh, why don't you open a paper store? And so I was at the counter buying some things, and I asked if they exported. And the guy in the paper store said, yes, we do. And that was sort of the beginning of my paper store. And even though it wasn't fully related to style, I was able to use things that I had learned along the way, like working in clothing stores, which I had done. I had done buying. I had done managing. I had done merchandising. I had worked individually one-on-one with my customers and clients, so I had a lot of experience in that. I also had an experience running a psychology lab, actually, at the University of Oregon, a cognitive psychology lab. But the funny thing was, I think taking maybe some of the beliefs that I had from when I was, a teenager going off into college, I was still thinking about style and fashion as not being something that I should pursue. Mm-hmm. I was still listening to those beliefs. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, I was working in an administrative position at my children's school. And people were still always saying, oh, I want you to come help me with my closet. I want you to help me with my wardrobe. And one day I just woke up and I thought, oh, my goodness, it's now or never. It's now or never. Yeah. I just need to go for this.
Yeah,
so
you're being asked to do it. Go do it.
Yes, and so I did. And it was an interesting process in that, too, because a lot of people that knew me are like, what are you doing? You can't do this. You can't stay. You have to go stable. You have to be blah, 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 blah. But I did, and it hasn't always been easy, owning your own business, especially being a solopreneur, as I'm sure you can relate to. Sometimes it can be lonely. Sometimes you're wondering, how do I do this? What do I do? Luckily there are very, very talented, knowledgeable people to, get information from and to get coaching from. But I guess that's kind of how I got started, and I really love it now. It's just, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, well, cool. So you say in your I think on your website that you've studied NLP. I'm familiar with that, and is it clean, or just do you spell it out? CLEAN?
It's clean. It's clean language. Yes, and you may be thinking, what's that?
Yeah. So what are these, and how has this helped you?
Okay, so NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And there are a lot of answers to what exactly NLP is, but I like to use it basically as a set of tools to help my clients gain deeper knowledge and understanding of who they are to reach who they want to be. And so it's taking, the mind, how we think. It's taking language and how we use it and how it affects us when we hear it, and then programming or patterning, things that we've always done, but we may not realize that we're doing them, but how they shape, those beliefs that we have, the language that we use, the way that we've always done something, those things, even though there may be really positive intentions behind all of those things, and we know how to do them and they feel right, they may not be serving us in the best way. And so by taking a deeper look at some of those things and how they shape our experiences, we are able to change or bring about a positive change. So, an example of that would be how a woman might always shop only at sales, and she thinks that she's buying because she's trying to be economical, but then recognizing that she only has things that she doesn't really like.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, that's sort of a minor example, but clean language is very complementary to NLP because, again, it works with thought processes, but it's called clean because it's basically a series of questions that are designed to help a person look at something, but the person who is guiding them with these questions that uses these questions so that they aren't making assumptions about the person that they're guiding and what they may be thinking. So, for example, a clean question that I will ask a client is, what would you like to have happen? And a client might say something like, well, I would like to wake up in the morning and get dressed with confidence and ease. And so then that question alone takes them out of a stuck place. And so it's already opening them up to something new. And usually what it does, it's designed to, it elicits a metaphor. And so then I will look at that metaphor and with a question like, well, when confident and at ease, that's like what? And then they will stop and they will look at what that might mean for them. And so we can go deeper into that situation, and it can be really, really powerful because both of those modalities remove a woman from being in a stuck place to a place that makes
I can
confident.
see that. I can really see that, Shelby, that if you can move somebody to a metaphor, you're basically moving them to speaking in pictures. And pictures tell such a wonderful story. Sometimes more precisely than words, especially since, we live in an age where we don't pay a lot of attention to vocabulary and meaning of specific words. We say, and And I think language was designed to be very specific, but we've lost the art of using it. So you can move somebody to pictures and get an idea about what they want to do.
It brings clarity.
Yes.
It's really
clarity
essential.
Is so important everywhere. Yes. And there's so many opportunities for misunderstanding.
I think so too.
So why do you think it's important for women to find their style? Is it, I would talk about it as part of their branding, for themselves, but do you think it's more than that?
I do. I think that it's part of their branding if a woman is in business, absolutely. Yes, it's her personality shining forth. She's bringing the whole picture, the whole package. That's really essential. But I also think it's very important for a woman to bring her style forward because she's showing who she is to the world. Our minds make assumptions about other people within almost 20 seconds. That's really fast. Our minds work so quickly in ways that we don't even recognize. And it can be based on what a woman is wearing, what her hair looks like, whether she has makeup on or not. And you can, by authentically being yourself and reflecting who you are on the outside, I think you are more likely to draw in kind the people that you want to have in your life. Yes.
That makes a great deal of sense to me, that you do attract what you put out. And I can understand that. So if somebody's more aware of it, they have a better chance of bringing what they really want and making it happen that way.
I think so.
Really,
it goes
really
back to
good.
The clarity. It's kind of a visual clarity.
Visual clarity.
It's like staking your place in the world. It's like, here I am. This is me.
Yes. So you're helping people find their individual selves and represent that all the time in who they are. That's in as you said, what they're wearing, how they carry themselves. I think posture is so important.
I do too.
You know, how they carry themselves, how they speak, you know, what colors they wear, their hair, you know, the whole physical package of how they present themselves. Is that right?
Too. Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to throw in another something in there just because it's important to me. Manners. Manners. Manners are a big one for me. And I, you know, sometimes my children are like, Mom, why are you making me do that? I'm like, someday you'll appreciate this and you'll understand. But I think it's important. I think it shows a form of self-respect. So, yes, how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you present yourself, how you relate to others. Do you look them in the eye? Do you say thank you?
Yes.
You know, all of those things I think really matter.
So it would seem to me that all the things that you're talking about are techniques, and maybe what you're really after is helping people accept who they are and become more confident in expressing themselves. Is that your real product, confidence?
Yes, empowerment. I think so. The two kind of are very closely linked.
That people can get over all the external opinions that have been, you know, flowed down on them. Like, for instance, you're never going to make a living at this. You need to get a degree in anthropology.
Yeah.
We see, I mean, we see that one a lot with our creatives. That you know, people have gotten these horrible messages their whole life, and you know, are soldiering on to build a solo business, expressing their creative side anyway, which tells you how strong the drive is. And you know, that confidence is so important. Wow, you're really helping people.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. So, Shelby, how do you work with your clients? I mean, do you have a specific program you take them through? Do you work with them one-on-one? Is a lot of it about clothing, and you actually help people make clothing choices? In other words, how if I hire you, how do you work with me?
I do all those things. But essentially, the very first thing I do is if somebody is interested in working with me, I set up a phone call, and we actually chat for a while so I can get to know them a little bit better, to see if we are the right fit for one another. You know, because it's important to me that my client also feels that I'm the right fit for her, and she is for me, so that we can work positively together. And then I have a questionnaire with, I think there are about 20 questions on it, that a woman can be as specific or as general as she wants to be. And so I've had some people fill out the different questions and say it took them a couple of days, that it made them think about themselves and think about style in ways that they never had before. And what it helps me do is know how to design the program that I have to work for them individually. And so it's a 4-part program, but I use it to meet the individual needs of each client. So for some people, they want more of an emphasis on, I'm just going to say, organization, and how to clean their closet out so that they're clutter-free, they can work with what they have, and that's what we do. And that's sort of the main, you know, focus. For other people, they want to learn how to, you know, they have an idea in their mind about how they want to look. They just don't know how to get there. And so we go through we take the process and go through several steps to help them reach what it is that they would like, how they'd like to see themselves. For some, you know, women, they prefer to work one-on-one, and I've had other women take classes that I do. So I've done a couple of different classes, some collaborative and some solo. One class that was great. It's with a local photographer, Sarah Giffrow, and it was all about style and branding. So we did headshots, and we did how to bring, you know, your style forward so that it was in alignment with your brand. And that was our focus. And that, you know, was for, you know, that's what some clients wanted. That was from a more of a professional approach. For other clients, when they work one-on-one, they want to learn how to have their style work seamlessly for them. So, you know, they wear a lot of different hats. They're wives, they're mothers, they're volunteers, they're businesswomen, or they're teachers, or whatever. But they want to feel like they are living each aspect of their life seamlessly. And so for them, a better choice is actually working one-on-one, because I can look more deeply and help them look more deeply at all those different aspects. And
cool.
Then I'm starting in January, and I've done this before, but I also do a class on helping women create their own style board. And so there's
say that again?
Create their own style board. So it's like making a vision board, but it's all relative to style. And we look at different aspects of a woman's life and how she approaches her own style. But it's everything from clothing to lifestyle choices to body image to finances. There's a lot of different aspects that are involved.
That's interesting. So you're finding several different ways, and the part that resonated most with me is that you start with an assessment, and out of that assessment you design a program for the person. So you're certainly not one size fits all. Mm-hmm. You're customizing to a person's needs as they work through their assessment of themselves or their questions about themselves, and then you put together a customized program for them that's got all these different parts to it that you can cover all the topics. I think that's a very I'm coaching you on marketing right now. I think it's a very big thing for you to market is that you design programs to meet people's specific needs, because I think we like things that are customized just to us. Mm-hmm. So that's a really good thing to put forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think, well, it goes back to something that we spoke about earlier in the conversation, that one size doesn't fit all.
Right.
It's women thinking that they're supposed to adhere to a particular style. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe that. So I'm not going to try to promote that.
No, you're right.
With my
you're right. That's certainly what the big photo shoots in the magazines are telling us. And I think that what I've been able to see is it also hits the young women, thinking that they've got to look a certain way and be a certain way, and so you get the rise of bulimia and anorexia and everybody trying to be skinny, and that's just not who a lot of people are.
No, most of us actually.
No, yeah, most of us. Yeah, I know it's kind of stunning to learn that some of those beautiful models are actually 14 years old, and you think, oh my goodness.
Yes.
This is crazy.
I know. I think so too. Yeah.
So do you see, big lasting changes with people where they begin to make some changes into, discovering and living in their own style, and, it affects whole parts of their lives? I mean, do you get stories like that?
Yes, I do. It just makes my heart swell. I received an email actually from a client that I had 2 years ago, and it was just last week, and she was putting away her summer and spring items and pulling out all of her winter items, and she said, I just had to write to you because I just want you to know the huge impact that you made on my life, and I am not the person that I was then. And I love my life. I love who I am. I have evolved into, who I wanted to be. Not that it's always perfect or easy, but I make choices for myself now that feel right. And that just makes me feel wonderful for her.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for her.
Yeah.
And she's still, I worked with her one-on-one, and then later on she actually took my style board class, and she said she also has that up in her closet still, and she looks at it every day. Mm-hmm. That was a year and a half ago. That's awesome.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
As I say, I think the long-term results that you would give to people would be confidence, and when people have confidence, everything changes.
Oh, absolutely. It permeates
how they walk,
so
how they
areas.
talk, how they put their business together. I'm always speaking from the standpoint of a business. How they price themselves. That all changes. And what a great way to do it. Great way. So you started your business in what year, Shelby?
Goodness, so I technically became an LLC in December of 2011.
Okay.
It's been about 2 years. Yeah.
And what do you like most about it?
What do I like? Oh, my goodness. I would say what I like most is just watching women blossom, like absolutely transform, and being witness to that there is an actual visible shift that I can see where they really do. I want to say they stand up taller because there's something in them that switches about how they believe themselves to be.
Yeah.
And being present, being witness to that, I just love that. I love that. It just makes me, thrilled. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you like least?
When women are self-deprecating, when they put themselves down, when they think that they aren't enough. I hear that a lot, and that part is really hard.
Well, it sounds like you help people change that.
I try. Yeah, I really try. And I think that they come to me because they want to change it too.
Yeah.
Right. That there's a desire within them to not feel the way that they've been feeling.
You know, and that's an important thing because you know, when you're anybody who is teaching anybody anything, okay, has to the person has to want to change and make a difference. If we're bringing it to them and they didn't seek it out or didn't want it, or it's being offered to them and it wasn't something they had in mind, you know, you get a lot of resistance. And once they're adults, they're going to go away, you know.
Yes.
And so, you know, if somebody reaches out to you, they've made the first big step. And they've said, okay, I'm interested, I'm willing, I want to do something different. And, you know, here it comes. And, okay, I'm putting myself in your hands, and let's see where we can go from here. And I'm going to trust you enough to express my deepest, darkest, silentest desires about how I would like to be in the world. And I'm going to trust that, first of all, you're not going to laugh at me. And then you're going to help me become that. That's big.
It is big. It is really big. And sometimes just trust and fear alone, it you know, I've had clients where we have talked, and then they realize after talking that they're just not quite ready, and that's okay. Yeah. And then, you know, but sometimes I get a phone call 6 months later, and it's like, okay, I'm there. I'm afraid. I'm a little nervous, but I want to do this.
Yeah. Yeah,
and all it takes is the first step.
Very gratifying. Very gratifying. So how do you find your clients? You know, what do you do to market?
I blog, and I have an online presence. I tweet, and I do Facebook. I have a website, obviously, and I have a newsletter where I stay in touch with people who have signed up for my list. But I would say that most of my clients have actually come from word of mouth. So while people do find me via the web, and I stay connected with them that way, and I build relationships with people that way, that a big majority of my clients have been through friends of friends, people that I've already worked with that recommend somebody. Oddly, I actually had one client who saw me in a store and asked me about how I was dressed. And then when she found out what I did, you know, she became a client. But it's mostly been, I'm going to say, some kind of personal connection with people.
You know, that's not bad. That's not, and in fact, it's not even unusual. And what happens is they get a personal referral, you know, say from somebody who's been to one of your events or to one of your programs, and they go on the web then and they check you out. Google tells us that 97% of people check out your website before they ever buy from you. And so just because your business is coming from personal referrals does not mean, you know, you can let down on the e-media, because that's what they're going to do. You know, they're going to check you out. And then they say, okay, now I've got a face with it. You know, I got my friend Susan's recommendation that this would be fabulous, and now I have an idea of who she is and how she talks about herself, and, okay, I'm ready, I'll give a call. You know, it's kind of that kind of a buying process that happens.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so you still have to keep up the the blog, the tweeting, the Facebook, and the newsletter, even though most of it's some sort of personal contact.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, luckily I like to write, so that helps.
Oh, good.
It helps,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty important these days. And maybe sending pictures. You probably have some wonderful pictures.
Yes, I do that too. I would like to improve in the area of taking befores and afters. I get so involved in the process sometimes, like, oh, I forgot. I had my camera even, and I just forgot to take a picture.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember that one as well.
Yeah. It's amazing, the changes that you can see. Mm-hmm. So who would be a typical client? And, do you have a couple of success stories you'd like to tell?
Sure. My typical clients are women who I would say have experienced some kind of transition in their life, and they are starting to recognize that they're transforming on the inside and that they want the change to be apparent on the outside, that they're no longer feeling like who they used to be. They want to start representing themselves differently. So a transition could mean anything from I've had clients who have lost a spouse. I've had clients who've gone through divorce. I've had clients who have become stay-at-home moms from having been career women, and all the emotional changes that happen with that and how they represent themselves out in the world. That's a huge identity shift. I've had women who have, lost weight or gained weight. That's another big one too. So, I would say that what really, really binds, what my clients are is that they've gone through some kind of transition and they're wanting to make a change. And the other thing about my clients, I'm going to say across the board, I feel very fortunate. All my clients have been really interesting, intelligent, bright, I'm going to use the word creative people. I feel really, really fortunate about that. And I can't say that that's, it's definitely not a prerequisite, but it is interesting when I'm noticing patterns of who my clients are. And yes, I have lots of success stories. So I'm going to tell you one. Actually, I'll tell you two, but one is about a woman who had been a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and then she found out that her husband had not been faithful to her, and he left her for another woman, and she was absolutely devastated. So the divorce was hard enough, but her whole life, her whole world shifted from her standard of living to the betrayal, which made her think much more differently about herself and whether or not she was desirable, whether or not, she had anything to give to the world, because it just was really, really devastating. And she started working with me, and over the course of about a year, we met seasonally. I would say it wasn't a monthly thing; it was a seasonal thing. She started reconnecting to this really fun, playful, spontaneous side of herself that she realized that in her marriage she hadn't been able to express. And watching her just transform, and she went to an event where she was going to be seeing her ex-husband, and the before and after of her, the photos of like when she was married to when she actually went to this event, she just looked like $1 million. She literally sparkled, and I'm not talking about her jewels. It was her herself. And I love it because she met someone who was 10 years younger than her, and they've been in a relationship now for over a year, and it's just she didn't ever realize she could be this happy. And it's just been really great. And I know, it's not necessarily because of me, but it was definitely working with her and her clothing choices and what she was wearing, how her clothes were fitting her, how she was putting them together,
how nice.
Presenting herself. Yeah, it was.
And if there was ever a time you want to look like $1 million and sparkle, it's when you're running into your ex-husband.
It's so true. It is so true. Yes.
I mean,
absolutely. You should have seen him. His jaw dropped. I'm like, I bet it did.
Good.
Yes. I bet it did. Yeah, so that was one. Another success story is a young woman that I had worked with who was starting to become, I'm going to use her words, but she said she was starting to develop a case of style anxiety. And what was happening for her is that she would go into her closet every morning and almost freeze, like panic, like she was starting to get to the point where she felt uncomfortable leaving the house because she didn't feel like she was looking quite right. And it was becoming very debilitating. And her husband she had heard about me, I guess, through a friend, and she had told her husband about me, and her husband finally said, why don't you just call her? Just see what happens, just talk to her. And so we did, and what we discovered through the course of working together was that she was still allowing, I don't want to say allowing, that's not exactly it. She loved the connection that she had with her mother, but her mother was still making her clothing choices for her. And she didn't realize it. She didn't even realize it, though. Like they would go shopping together, and she loved spending that time with her mom, but she was so ingrained in asking her mother, what do you think of this? How does this look on me? So she kept asking outside of herself, and so she was wearing these things that were not representative of her. No wonder she would go in her closet every day, even though she had nice things, but they just were not her.
Yeah.
And so through the course of that, we started working with her beliefs about herself, the positive ones where, yes, she wanted to be with her mom. She enjoyed shopping with her mom. She enjoyed that time. There was a connection. But she didn't, how could she work with, no, Mom, I think I want to try something different. And so we went through a process where we helped her to learn what she felt good in and why. And what looked good on her, and then so she could go and actually buy things for herself.
Wow.
It was really powerful.
That's quite a great story. That's a really great story, and that does happen.
It does.
So just to shift our topic a little bit, on the show here, we spend a lot of time talking about Encore Entrepreneurs, those over 50 who are starting businesses. And, do you find that Encores need to physically present themselves well if they're going to be successful in developing a new career? I mean,
absolutely.
And there's huge prejudice against ageism, we're calling it. I mean, do you find that you run into that a lot, that people that need to, really present themselves well if they're starting a new business and they're 50 plus?
Yes, I do, because I think it's essential, especially in this culture where so much energy and focus is on youth and looking in a certain way, that women of a certain age and maturity start to become invisible. Even though, in my own opinion, I find women who are middle-aged and older to be some of the most stunning and most beautiful women I've ever seen. And I think it's because they have perspective. And they also have the ability to look at their past life experiences to develop confidence about what they are capable of. And there's the ability to self-reflect, and through that self-reflection comes information. And I think to help women with their style and presenting themselves out in the world, if they can take all of those things and then be able to present it, in their clothing choices, how they wear their hair, how they wear makeup. Many wear glasses, and so that's another way to really, illustrate your style. Is what kinds of frames do you wear? Are they fun or are they classic? It's your choice. And then also the clothing, because I think that it's really important not to wear things that make a woman look or feel dowdy. Something that's going to help to elevate her sense of herself and her stature.
Yeah, anti-frumpy.
Yes. Yes.
No wearing the sweatshirt and jeans to the job interview.
No. Or even I'm going to say, I'm sure that suit was awesome in the 80s, but it's just not going to fly now.
No, that's true.
That's just not going to work. Because it shows, too, that I think you're stepping up to what it is that you're wanting to do.
Yes. I like your word, step up. You've got to step up to, who you are and where you want to go today. Yeah. Wow.
Right.
So Shelby, I read on your blog that you're very environmentally conscious with your style advising and coaching. So do you want to talk a bit about that? How do you integrate that into your work on style? Needs to happen.
Yes. I think so often we don't recognize what goes into creating a garment because we don't have to. We're kind of removed from the process. And so the garment industry in itself, so much of what we have now is produced overseas, but there's so much waste that's involved and created when manufacturing clothing. And then you can also think about things like all the dyes that are used for the clothing that we wear and what happens to the dyes, when they go into the water supply or the streams, how can that affect things on an environmental level? And then all the clothing has to be shipped back to the United States or to other parts of the world to, be finished maybe, and then brought back to the United States. So all of those things have a global environmental impact in ways sometimes that we can see and sometimes in ways that we can't. But what I really love to do, and for a lot of reasons, not just environmental, I really love to encourage women to use what they have if they can. So I always try to work with that first before I start telling a client, oh my gosh, you're going to have to toss everything and start from scratch. I don't think I've actually ever said that to a client, ever. I try to really work with what they have first. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, I encourage them to buy local if they can. And that there are a lot of reasons for that too. One, there's an environmental reason, but I also think just on a social level and community level, that when we can nurture the businesses, the small businesses especially, that are local, it makes our community unique. It creates connection for people. It creates, I think there are so many reasons, but that's really, really important to me. And to try to think about the impact of your choices, not only on yourself, but on those around you and the environment around you. So
I've been very happy to watch the resurgence of the Made in America move. And I'm married to a man who will go through a store and he'll need something, and he'll look at the label of all the things in that store of, that are what he needs. And if they're all made in China, he doesn't buy, which is really quite a discipline. And he'll go somewhere else, until he can find it made in America. And I think that's a very important thing for us to be doing. And, we don't, as you say, we don't think of the origins of it, and we don't think of the waste of it, and, the shipping and the use of oil and fossil fuels and all of that goes. So this think and act locally and buy locally is really quite an important thing. I'm glad to see that you do weave that into your business and make, each of your clients aware of it and the impact of their buying decisions as well.
I think it's important.
Yeah, good for you.
The other part for me too is that I do not have the actual source for this, and it's on my list of things to research and look into, but a German friend of mine was telling me about an article that she read in either a German newspaper or a German magazine, and it really struck me because basically what they were saying was because of the lack of space to actually keep, I'm going to say, bodies that have died, or people who have died in the ground forever, because there's no more land. They only have so much land that after a period of time, a year or 2, 5 years, something like that, the caskets are removed and then a new coffin is placed in that burial place. But what they were finding is that, and this, I hope this doesn't gross your listeners out, but I found it to be really interesting, is that the bodies had decomposed, which is natural and a normal process, but they're starting to discover that the clothing isn't, and it's not breaking down. And it's because of all of the synthetics that are being used. And so I start thinking about something like that. I'm like, oh my goodness, isn't that fascinating?
Wow.
What does that mean? And from, yes, of course, an anthropological perspective, there are certain articles of clothing that based on, environmental reasons, say linens and cottons, flax in Egypt, the environmental conditions allowed for those things to last longer because there wasn't moisture, that was going to cause a greater breakdown or something like that. But how is it going to be over time? What's going to happen to all these things? So our choices have an impact on that too. And frankly, clothing that is made from cotton or silk or all wool, it lasts longer. so I hear a lot from women. Yes, it does. And I hear from women that's like, why, I just bought this sweater. Why is it pilling up?
Yeah.
It's brand new. And we'll look at it, and it's because it's got a little bit of an acrylic in it or a little bit of nylon. And it is, unfortunately, it's a little bit harder to get away from that kind of thing because we're starting to see it creep in a lot of clothing manufacturing. But there are still some of those purest things. And from a creative perspective, I'm thinking, hey, learn to knit. Make your own beautiful sweater.
That's very true. That is true. So what are, do you have some basic principles of personal style that you can, that are general that people should be looking out for if, you have this radio audience, and a few things you would tell people to just be watching out for themselves? Some basic advice?
For my clients that are listening to this, they're going to laugh. I'm like, oh, Shelby, yes, we know this. Only wear what you love.
Yeah.
And that while that may seem really, really basic, it's incredible to me how often women are disconnected from that feeling. And so, for example, start to pay attention to what it is about the things that you love. What is it about it? Is it the fabric? Is it the cut? Is it the color? Do you start noticing, and paying attention? That's another thing about personal style. Pay attention to how you feel. If you can move in something comfortably. If you go into a store and you're trying on pants, don't just stand and look at yourself facing the mirror or looking at yourself from the backside or the side. Sit down in them too. Make sure that they're comfortable. Move in your things. So what else can I say about basic style? Wear things that have meaning to you. So that could be a piece of jewelry. It could be a piece of clothing that you got on a trip with your best girlfriend. And every time you wear it, you start, you think about her. That makes you feel good.
Yeah, very true. So you have a memory in it. It's pretty nice that way.
Yes.
Oh, how wonderful. Yeah. So that's pretty basic about personal style. I really love it.
It's really basic, and it's so simple, but it has a really, really long-lasting, deep impact.
I know I have a friend that I've gone shopping with from time to time, and that's always her question. She says, do you love it? That's the question. Do you love it? Because if you don't love it, you can't buy it.
Right. And just because you like something, or because a salesperson might say, you look great in that, or your mother, somebody might say, they're right. Yeah. It probably does look great on you. But if you don't feel it, that's not the thing that you're going to be reaching for to wear.
Right, exactly.
It'll just hang in your closet.
Right. You're right. So, Shelby, we've had a great conversation. I really enjoyed talking with you and hearing how your wonderful business works. So if some of our listeners would love to contact you, how do they find you? How do they get hold of you?
Okay. Well, I will start with my website. It's www.shelbyrice.com. They can also connect with me via Facebook at Shelby Rice Style.
And that's Rice,
Twitter.
R-I-C-E.
Yes, R-I-C-E, yes.
Okay.
And on Twitter, it's Style From Within, Shelby Rice at Style From Within.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, listeners, we have had this wonderful expert talking with us about style today, and, style is more than just the outer look. It's the inner you coming forward. I think Shelby's been pretty clear about that, and it's the confidence that you express, and it sounds like she's very, very good at helping you bring that forward. And I want to thank everybody who's tuned in today. We've had a very nice show, and remind you that this is Jackie B. Peterson. I'm the author of Better, Smarter, Richer, 7 Business Principles for Solopreneurs. And my goal is to have people learn and understand that there are ways to be very financially successful as a solopreneur. So I hope you'll go visit my website, www.bettersmarterricher.com, sign up for the free ebook, get a copy, get on the mailing list for our newsletter, and join the great lively conversation on the blog. And also, stay tuned in for this weekly radio show where we talk about solopreneurship in all of its ways. If you're in the Portland region, I'm going to be doing a free symposium I'm calling the Principles of Solopreneurship on December 3rd, coming right up. We'll be doing that in the Portland Community College Climb Center, which is on the corner of Southeast Water and Southeast Clay. It's free, 6 to 9 o'clock p.m., And on December 4th, I'll be in Astoria working with their creative community, and we're going to do the program, How to Charge What You Are Worth, which people just absolutely love. So again, thank you for tuning in today, and we will see you next week, and have a great day. Goodbye.